2,500 years ago, one man wrote the ultimate strategy guide. It conquered kingdoms. It toppled empires. It shaped warfare for millennia. But could it conquer the digital battlegrounds of modern esports? A struggling professional gaming team sits in their training facility, faces illuminated by the cold blue glow of multiple monitors. Their recent tournament performance has been catastrophic. 3 consecutive losses, a plummeting world ranking, sponsorship deals at risk. The championship, once within reach, now feels impossible. Management makes a decision that defies logic and reason. They bring in a coach unlike any other in esports history. Sun Tzu enters the arena. The ancient Chinese general, author of The Art of War, stands in the doorway of a state-of-the-art gaming facility. His traditional robes contrast sharply with the RGB lighting and modern equipment surrounding him. The players turn in their chairs, confusion etched across their faces. This is not the former professional player they expected. This is not a data analyst or sports psychologist. This is something entirely different. He approaches the screen slowly, studying the replay of their last match with the same intensity he once applied to battlefield terrain. His eyes track the minimap, the cooldown timers, the positioning of each player. He says nothing for a long time. The silence becomes uncomfortable. When he finally speaks, his voice is calm but carries undeniable authority. All warfare is based on deception. The team exchanges glances. One player, the team captain, leans forward. They are playing a video game, not fighting a war. The distinction seems important to clarify. Sun Tzu turns to face him directly. The game they play simulates conflict. Resources are contested. Territory is claimed. Enemies are eliminated. Victory requires defeating opponents who seek the same goal. This is war. The weapons have changed. The principles have not. He begins his analysis of their previous match. The team executed their strategy exactly as planned. Their mechanical skills were flawless. Their communication was clear, and they lost decisively. The reason is simple. Their opponents knew exactly what they would do. Predictability in warfare is death. In esports, it is defeat. Sun Tzu introduces his first principle: appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. The team's jungler, responsible for roaming the map and securing objectives, struggles to understand how this applies to their game. Sun Tzu demonstrates. He pulls up footage of their opening moves. Every game, they follow the same pattern, same jungle route, same gank timing, same objective priority. The enemy team has hours of footage showing this pattern. They have adapted. They now counter these moves before they begin. He proposes a different approach. Execute the standard opening, but feign weakness. Miss a skill shot deliberately. Retreat from a winnable fight. Let the enemy believe they have an advantage. Then, when they overcommit based on this false confidence, strike with full force. The deception creates an opening that skill alone cannot generate. The concept feels alien to players trained to optimize every action, to never intentionally play suboptimally. Sun Tzu is unmoved by their hesitation. In battle, he once commanded soldiers to appear scattered and disorganized, drawing enemy forces into ambush positions. The same principle applies here. Sacrifice small advantages to create larger ones. Training begins with an exercise that baffles the team. Sun Tzu has them play normal matches, but with an additional rule. They must deliberately feed the enemy team 1 kill in the first 5 minutes. Not a random death. A strategic sacrifice that positions the enemy exactly where the team wants them. The player who dies must do so in a way that baits the enemy into overextending. The first attempts are disasters. Players die without purpose. The enemy gains advantages without falling into any trap. But Sun Tzu is patient. He watches each attempt, offering minimal correction. Slowly, the team begins to understand. The fake death must look like a mistake, not a plan. It must appeal to the enemy's greed. It must position them in a location where the rest of the team can capitalize. After 2 days of this drill, something clicks. Their support player intentionally gets caught near Dragon Pit. The enemy jungler and mid laner immediately rotate to secure the kill. But the rest of the team is already in position. The fight becomes a 3 versus 2, and the enemy loses both players plus the objective. The calculated sacrifice generated a net positive. Sun Tzu's approval is subtle but present. He moves to the next principle. Know your enemy and know yourself. And in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. Modern esports teams already employ analysts who study opponent strategies. They watch match replays, track statistics, and identify patterns. Sun Tzu acknowledges this, but finds their approach incomplete. They study what the enemy does. They must also study why the enemy does it. He assigns each player to study their direct opponent, not just their champion pool or mechanical tendencies, but their decision-making patterns under pressure. Do they play aggressively when behind? Do they make risky plays to impress viewers? Do they tilt after being solo killed? These psychological patterns are more valuable than knowing their preferred builds or strategies. The team's mid laner discovers something interesting. His opponent in the upcoming championship match has a pattern. After securing a kill, he almost always pushes aggressively for the next 30 seconds, seeking to press his advantage. Sun Tzu sees the opportunity immediately. Allow him the first kill. Then, instead of retreating to safety, position for a counterkill during his predictable aggression. Turn his strength into his weakness. Terrain, Sun Tzu explains next, is crucial to victory. The players look confused. Their game has a fixed map. Everyone knows the terrain, but Sun Tzu sees what they do not. The map itself does not change, but its strategic value shifts constantly throughout the match. A neutral position becomes advantageous based on objective timers, vision control, and team compositions. He has them drill map awareness in an unconventional way. They play matches with the main screen covered, showing only the minimap. No mechanical execution, pure strategic movement and positioning. Where should each player be at any given moment based on available information? The exercise strips away the distraction of combat and forces focus on positional strategy. The results are revealing. Players discover they frequently position themselves based on habit rather than strategic value. They occupy space because it feels safe, not because it serves a purpose. Sun Tzu teaches them to think like generals surveying a battlefield. Every position must have a reason. Every movement must serve the larger strategy. Discipline becomes the next focus. In Sun Tzu's experience, armies with superior discipline defeat armies with superior numbers. Esports requires similar discipline. When a team loses a fight, players often respond emotionally. They seek revenge, make desperate plays, or blame teammates. This emotional chaos compounds the initial loss. Sun Tzu implements a strict protocol. After any death or lost objective, a mandatory 5-second pause before taking any action. No speaking, no pinging, pure mental reset. The silence breaks the emotional momentum that leads to tilt. When communication resumes, it must be factual. What happened? What the team knows? What options remain? No blame, no emotion, only analysis. The team finds this almost impossible at first. Years of competitive play have built reflexive emotional responses. When they lose a team fight, every instinct screams to do something, anything, immediately. But Sun Tzu is inflexible on this point. Discipline defeats talent when talent lacks discipline. He shares a story from ancient warfare. His army once faced an enemy force twice their size. His soldiers were terrified, Instead of giving a rousing speech, he simply asked them to maintain formation. Do not break rank. Do not panic. Execute the plan. The discipline held. The formation held. And when the enemy's larger, less organized force crashed against it, the disciplined army prevailed. The same principle applies here. Maintain communication structure. Execute the strategy. Do not let emotion override training. Trust the preparation. As Championship Day approaches, Sun Tzu introduces his most controversial concept. All warfare is based on deception. He wants the team to leak false information, not directly, but through carefully executed games against lower-tier opponents. Play a specific strategy convincingly. Ensure it gets recorded and analyzed. Make it appear to be their new dominant approach. Then, in the championship, execute something entirely different. The team is uncomfortable with this level of calculated misdirection. Sun Tzu is unmoved. The enemy will study their recent matches. They will prepare counters. They will enter the championship with confidence in their ability to predict and counter this team's strategy. That confidence will be their downfall. The championship arrives. The arena fills with thousands of spectators. Millions more watch online. The opposing team, favorites to win, enter with visible confidence. They have studied the footage. They know what to expect. The match begins. The first game follows the expected pattern for exactly 8 minutes. The team executes their recently leaked strategy perfectly. The enemy counters it effectively, securing an early lead. Everything proceeds as the enemy anticipated. Then Sun Tzu's true strategy begins. The team executes a rotation that makes no sense given their previous play style. 3 players collapse on the enemy bot lane simultaneously from unexpected angles. The enemy team, positioned to counter the strategy they studied, is completely out of position for this new approach. 2 kills secured. Dragon uncontested. The momentum shifts instantly. The enemy team tries to adapt, but they are now reacting instead of executing their prepared game plan. Sun Tzu's principles are in full effect. Every engagement involves some element of deception, fake retreats that turn into re-engagements, apparent focusing on one objective while actually prioritizing another, individual players appearing isolated but actually positioned for immediate team support. The enemy's confusion is visible in their play. Hesitation enters their decision-making. They second-guess basic plays, wondering if they are walking into another trap. This psychological pressure creates mechanical errors. Missed skill shots, poor positioning, inefficient pathing. The team closes out the first game decisively. Their victory was not purely mechanical. It was strategic, psychological, and based on principles written 25 centuries ago. Between games, Sun Tzu offers minimal instruction. The strategy is working. Do not change it. Maintain discipline. Continue adapting. The enemy will adjust. Be ready. The second game shows the opponent's desperate adaptation attempts. They try to mirror the team's new strategies. They attempt unpredictable plays to avoid being baited. But they are reacting to Sun Tzu's principles without understanding them. Imitation without comprehension. Sun Tzu has prepared for this. He taught the team not just specific strategies, but adaptability itself. When the enemy tries to bait them with a fake engage, they recognize it immediately, not because they predicted this specific play, but because they understand the principle. They see the deception because they learn to think in terms of deception. The team secures vision around a key objective. The enemy knows they need to contest it, but cannot see where all 5 opponents are positioned. This is terrain advantage through information control. Sun Tzu once wrote that the best victory is won without fighting. Here, the enemy surrenders the objective without the team needing to force a fight. The psychological pressure of uncertainty achieves what combat would have risked. The match reaches championship point. One more game determines the victor. The enemy team is visibly frustrated. Their superior mechanical skills have not translated to success. Their prepared strategies have been dismantled. They are fighting two opponents, the team they face and the ancient mind behind their strategy. Sun Tzu addresses the team one final time before the deciding game. They have executed the principles well, but this game requires something more. Supreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Win this match not by defeating them, but by making them defeat themselves. The final game begins with an unexpected move. The team offers a free objective. They simply walk away from the dragon pit as the enemy approaches. No contest, no fight, just strategic withdrawal. The enemy secures it, but the confidence this should generate is absent. They suspect a trap, even where none exists. Sun Tzu's earlier deceptions have created permanent doubt. This psychological warfare compounds throughout the match. Every time the team yields something freely, the enemy becomes more paranoid. They waste time checking for ambushes that do not exist. They hesitate to press advantages, fearing traps. Their play becomes reactive and fearful. Meanwhile, the team operates with perfect discipline and coordination. They secure objectives the enemy overlooks while searching for non-existent threats. They punish the enemy's hesitation with aggressive plays. They maintain clear communication and emotional control even when fights go poorly. The end comes not from a spectacular play, but from accumulated pressure. The enemy team, mentally exhausted from constant uncertainty, makes a simple mechanical error. A misclick, a mistimed ability. The kind of mistake that happens when focus deteriorates. The team capitalizes instantly. One fight, one ace, championship secured. The arena erupts. The team celebrates, but their victory is different from typical esports triumphs. This was not won through superior mechanics or innovation. This was strategic domination. Ancient principles applied to modern competition. Sun Tzu observes from the side. His expression reveals little, but there is satisfaction in his eyes. The principles that shaped warfare for millennia have proven adaptable to this new form of conflict. The battlefield changed. Human nature did not. Strategy remains timeless. In the post-match interview, analysts and commentators struggle to explain what they witnessed. The winning team's strategy defied conventional esports wisdom. Their plays seemed to anticipate not just opponent positions, but opponent psychology. Their discipline under pressure exceeded anything seen before. Their adaptability made them impossible to prepare for. The team captain, when asked about their transformation, speaks carefully. They studied under someone who understood conflict at a level deeper than mechanics or meta. They learned that esports is not just about reaction time and game knowledge. It is about psychology, deception, discipline, and adaptability. The skills that win wars win games. Sun Tzu's influence on esports does not end with this championship. Other teams begin studying the art of war. Professional coaches incorporate its principles into training regimens. The language of esports strategy evolves to include concepts of terrain, deception, and psychological warfare. But the teams that simply read the book find limited success. Understanding the words is not the same as understanding the principles. Sun Tzu did not give this team a strategy. He gave them a way of thinking about strategy. He taught them to see patterns, to understand opponents as human beings with predictable psychological tendencies, to value positioning and information as highly as mechanical skill. The ancient general's appearance in the modern esports world proves a fundamental truth. Human competition, regardless of the tools or environment, follows eternal patterns. The players change, The games change. The core principles do not. Deception remains effective because humans trust patterns and are surprised when patterns break. Discipline remains crucial because emotion undermines strategy. Terrain remains vital because space and position create advantage. Psychology remains dominant because defeating an opponent's will is more effective than defeating their ability. These truths held in ancient China. They held through centuries of warfare, and they hold now in climate-controlled arenas where wars are fought with keyboards and mice instead of swords and spears. Sun Tzu's legacy extends beyond this single championship, or even beyond esports. His work endures because it speaks to something fundamental about human competition and conflict. The art of war is not a historical document. It is a living philosophy that adapts to any competitive environment. The team he coached continues their success. But more importantly, they think differently. They see games as systems to be understood rather than just played. They recognize patterns in human behavior. They value strategy as highly as skill. They understand that winning begins in the mind, not in the hands. And somewhere, in the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern technology, Sun Tzu's teachings continue to prove their timeless relevance. 25 centuries after they were written, in a form of competition he could never have imagined, the principles remain unchanged. The victories they generate remain undeniable. All warfare is based on deception. All competition requires discipline. All victory demands strategy. These truths are eternal. And now, they dominate the digital battlefield just as they once dominated physical ones. The ancient general has conquered another realm, not with armies, but with ideas, not through force, but through wisdom. The art of war lives on, adapted perfectly to the art of esports.